Ms. Bagshaw, there are troubling things about Mother Teresa, aren't there?
I don't think so, and I find it really amusing that what she's being accused of here is being a Catholic. You know, shock horror. She's against abortion, she's against contraception, she believes in the transformative power of promotion, and she spent money on religious activities. Well, you know what, newsflash, she was a Catholic nun. And the people that died under the care of the Sisters of Charity...
secular icon. She's not a Catholic icon.
The people that died under the care of the Sisters of Charity weren't compelled to be there. They weren't locked down. There was no compulsion to go and die in those wars. They chose to be here. Now, currently, controversial in the news is that Albania, from where she originally came, has requested the return of her body, of her relics. And the Indian government have said, absolutely not. We are so proud of Mother Teresa. We love her. She is a citizen of India, and she is resting at peace in her own country. It is not for me as a practising, although very unworthy Catholic, to say whether or not Mother Teresa should be canonised. It's not a popularity vote. It's not subject to, this is not the X factor, the holy X factor.
No.
The church will investigate
the
miracles.
Cross factor.
They will investigate the miracles, see if the cures were real, and declare whether or not this wonderful lady is already in heaven.
But when she said mothers are murderers, was that strong language to say that the biggest threat to the peace of the world, that she said this when she...
Mothers are murderers? Was that her phrase? I think the peace of the world... Well, I think that if you... I am obviously a Catholic. I am absolutely pro-life from the moment of conception. I make no bones about it. That is what we believe as a Catholic Church.
Forget about the abortion. What about contraception?
Your condemnation for abortion and contraception is quite simply condemnation of the Catholic religion. Mother Teresa was a faithful Catholic.
Absolutely.
Right, Sharma, what did you feel about it?
She's not fated as a Catholic. She's fated as a secular icon.
Could I just bring some perspective to this?
Yes,
first
again.
of all, Lise, you must understand, 1929, Mother Teresa entered India as a missionary. Now, unfortunately, Indians have not had a very good relationship with the Catholic Church. It started off, obviously, with the Portuguese Inquisition in Goa, and you know, the priestly caste being targeted, and of course Saint Xavier. You've probably heard Francis Xavier, who has also been called a saint.
How do you feel about the deathbed conversions, if I can ask
the
you?
deathbed conversions, first of all, I'd like to say that in our faith, in the Hindu faith, we believe in unconditional service to others. It does not mean that you hand them a loaf of bread in one hand and then a Bible in the other. I think that's wrong to try and convert people who already have a faith. I think that's an insult. And there's some very wonderful people in this world of other faiths and without faith.
Absolutely.
Whether they deserve sainthood or not is decided by the Catholic Church.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. We shouldn't really be, you know, not talking ill of the dead. Let's not talk too much ill about Mother Teresa, because she will be judged by her karma. She will be judged by karma.
Benjamin, how do you feel about this elevation of suffering, the beauty of suffering, because it takes you nearer to Jesus, and of being poor?
I think this is a terrible thing. You never hear people who are poor and suffering saying it's great and wonderful.
No,
you never hear that.
Absolutely.
I've been to the mission in Calcutta, and I thought it was really appalling. And I think the bottom line is, we're going back to expenses here. Millions of pounds have been given to that organisation. When you go to that place, that should be a modern hospital.
Exactly.
With needles for everybody. That should be a state-of-the-art place. But, and she took money from dictators who took money from some of the poorest people in the world in Haiti.
Absolutely.
That was never fed back to the people in Haiti. It was all given to the Vatican. And I think that's wrong. I think, she's a Catholic. That's true, she's a Catholic.
No, but why
I'd like to respond to that. Her mission was not to build hospitals and schools and have, top-notch modern technology.
She had the money.
She had the money.
She could at least give them beds.
That was not her mission. Her mission was, first and foremost, to work with the dying and to go out to people on the streets. Not for them to come to her, but for her to go out to them.
She never did.
And usually, can I just finish? Usually they were hours, sometimes minutes from dying. It was not about, and she would work with them and then move them to other homes that she had.
Benjamin Zephaniah.
I heard an example once of a young boy who could have been cured for a simple operation, but Mother Teresa kept him in her place and wouldn't allow him to go down the road and have a simple operation that would have saved his life. And he died there.
Do you know the reason why? Why?
Well, the reason why is because the former editor of The Lancet, Dr. Robin Fox, actually visited there, and his actual word was haphazard. That I agree entirely with Benjamin, that if those people who she'd taken in had been given the chance, they could have been saved, rather than just...
what about... let me introduce something else into it.
Can I just say...
It's very important to introduce this. Miracles.
Who believes in miracles?
Why are we so...
What century are we in? I don't know if we all still believe in slaying the dragon, but I think most of us have sort of twigged that that's a little bit...
Well, you're a secular person. You don't believe in such matters, do you?
And anybody who does, I mean, who believes in Harry Potter or the Tooth Fairy?
Well, you're talking about belief in God. But
not true.
Our future MP does. But that doesn't detract from the fact that we shouldn't be so bogged down by Catholic saints. Who are these Catholic saints? Have you heard of Pope Pius IX? Do you know he called Jews dogs? Do you know that Pope Pius IX brought back public hanging? Have you heard of Stepinac, Archbishop Stepinac of Zagreb, who actually masterminded the killing of Jews, communists and gypsies?
And St. George.
Norman, you believe.
These people are beatified by the last Pope.
Norman is perhaps... Norman, you prayed with Mother Teresa.
Yeah.
And tell us, she cured you. Didn't you believe you were cured, or by the love of God through her?
I believe through the love of God, through Mother Teresa, she helped me enormously with the condition that I suffered.
Which was?
I suffered from schizophrenia and bipolar, which I still have the bipolar and the schizophrenia. Over a period of 3 visits to Mother, I had visited her many times over the years, received many letters, but the first visit 2 years before she died, actually, I met her in San Gregorio, St. Gregory's in Rome, and in the June sunshine, we sat together, and there was a spiritual spell. There was a transfixation.
What do you mean by a transfixation?
Well, I just sat there, she sat opposite me,
Yeah.
the wrinkles in her face disappeared, she smiled, I smiled, that was it. It was like a hypnosis, doctors, a clinical hypnosis.
And you felt it through your
my whole
entire
body.
being, yeah.
I couldn't speak, which is a rarity. I'm a chatterbox like my granddaughter, and I couldn't speak.
And doctor, you're his doctor, you're his GP. You've helped him, and you were telling me earlier on this was extraordinary.
I don't agree with many of the things those side was saying, but there is no time because I worked in the NHS for 44 years. In my early days, I used to send patients for heart disease, and we wait for 1 year for an appointment. By that time, they are dead in the early days because the national health was only progressing by that time. Cancer patients, I used to refer them. They have to wait months.
What I'm saying is
resources. You can see they were talking about resources. I was answering it directly.
Was this a miracle?
Here,
there
is. I am a practicing Catholic. Yes, I'm proud to be a practicing Catholic. Norman Ims couldn't be handled by many doctors, many psychiatrists found it difficult to handle him. It was a very complex mental illness. To escape, he went to Australia. He was asked to leave, and he returned. And he had a string of doctors who removed him. He came to my panel.
Was this the love of God?
16 years I endured the persecution from Norman. And then I said, you have to spiritualize your illness.
It was the love.
You have to spiritualize your illness.
It was the love.
It was the love of God.
Well, may I just say...
Louise Bradshaw, you believe in this, don't you? I mean, speak up for it, because people like Kate Smurthwaite are very cynical.
The lady's complaint is with Catholicism and religion in general. The complaint that she has against accepting miracles, she probably has against belief in God, which she probably believes is equivalent to belief in the Tooth Fairy. It is not for me, it is for a tribunal of the Church, which will include doctors and scientists, to declare if this miracle is real.
That's your
but
church.
That is the way that it is not the Church that confers sainthood. Only God confers sainthood. All the Church does is investigate and tell you whether someone is right.
There's a Hindu man sitting there. He has a God.
Yes.
And to become a Swami, there is a process. Are we having a discussion about how to become a Swami? But anyway, even if...
Certainly we discuss Hinduism. I'd be pleased to learn about
why do you think your God is more important than his God?
Exactly. And I
believe there's only one God.
Dr. Chatterjee, that's a very valid point indeed. I think this